LASIK.
Hey, you know what it is, man. It's your boy DJ Benz. And I got my peoples over here.
Hamburguesa con queso. Let's call me cheeseburger. I'm just trying to be more multicultural. So
Yeah, we are. We all are. And we got somebody else here too.
What's going on, Nels?
Culture Vibes. You already know what it is, man. Yo, check this out. Nels is N, B, Benz, C, cheeseburger. This is a new NBC, y'all.
But we have all our hair, so
That's true. That's true.
Hey, shout out to my boy DJ Iceman on the check-in. Appreciate you.
Yeah, what we're doing right now is like we're doing everybody's live on their own Instagram. So we're gonna be all like all up in here.
There's a lot of pieces moving up right now.
All
But
up in here.
yeah, we got some important things to talk about. HBCUs.
HBCUs.
Oh man, producers probably some of the most influential people for the culture.
Yep, and we need to talk more about it. More of y'all need to go to HBCUs. Hell, I need to go to HBCUs.
And then we're gonna talk a little bit about each our own unique experiences with college. I didn't go to an HBCU, but the school I went to was predominantly black. So I guess you could say it's black, but I don't know if historically that makes sense.
Got you.
Yeah, but I know what.
And I did, but I only went my freshman and sophomore year, and then I joined the military afterwards, and I have my own story to tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, I highly recommend that if you have the opportunity to go to HBCU, you do go.
Let's get it. So I'm gonna get to the mix right now, and then we're gonna talk about it, man. Culture vibes.
Like FAB don't wanna fall in love with me. Girl, you're a rip, you're a bop, you're not shy. Well, no, but when it gets
LASIK.
You already know what this is, man. So, culture vibes, man. We talk about HBCUs. Well, first of all, I just want to talk about what Nels is wearing because she's MVP right now. Is that the college you went to?
It is Virginia State University. So I went there my freshman and sophomore year. Unfortunately, I did not graduate from HBCU, but I did attend. I joined, ended up running out of funds, and I had to find another means to get what I needed in life, and I joined the military. So.
Yeah. But I think there's so many people's story though with college that they're real legit people. Money be a thing. I had a friend of mine in college where her brother went to Howard. I think he racked up maybe $180K in student loans, and that affected her ability for schools she can go to. So ain't nobody trying to come in nobody for not finishing school because we all got a story where we had to take a semester off or something like that.
My story is weird as fuck.
What ain't weird?
Alright, so I didn't go to a HBC. I went to Bloomsburg. So it's in the Poconos, it's in upstate Pennsylvania. I had a full scholarship, full academic scholarship.
You were smart.
Damn.
Yeah.
I don't know about
You had a
that.
full
I did that
scholarship.
shit. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like a full, like my GPA was like 3.6 or something. So.
Oh, okay, that's better than mine.
But, a 17-year-old living by himself for the first time, that could spell disaster. So ironically, that's how my DJ career started. When I had my own crib and I just having parties all the damn time. And party with no security means anything can happen. And anything did happen.
So you was a black Philly Hugh Hefner.
I will not argue that.
So, I ain't trying to get you in trouble.
I will not argue
So
that.
Bloomberg, so you was living on your own and you got to DJing. And so, what was your college experience like for the time that you was there?
I hate to say this, I don't remember half of it.
Okay, so with the school you went to, what was the percentage of black folk? Was it like a majority black school? Was it half and half?
No, it was majority white, but a lot of black people from the Philadelphia area, as well as Jersey, New York, and the Pittsburgh area came over there.
Yeah.
So I would say Bloomsburg is about 70-30, 70 being white.
70-30. So it's trippy. So you have Bloomberg. I went to a few schools.
I went to a few schools.
Yeah, I But it's funny because, and I'm checking in with you on that because I'm like, yo, did you ever even hear about HBCUs when you were younger and all of that? You know what I'm saying?
To be honest with you, I have, and that's why, to be honest, if I were to do life over again, the one thing that I would change is the school that I went to. One school that offered me something but I declined was Cheney University.
Wow.
And
Such a caucus name.
but it's a historically black college. I think it was one of the first.
I think it was the first historically black college. If I'm not mistaken.
I thought it was
Yeah.
Fisk.
No,
not
Cheney University
Cheney, I
in
think
Pennsylvania
so.
was the first HBCU that
I ain't gonna dispute it because somebody from that school probably find me.
My friend Kiko, shout out to Kiko, you know what I'm saying, he went over there. I elected not to go over there. I mean, simply because, one, Bloomsburg gave me a full ride, and two, it's
Okay.
like, bye mom, you know, I want to live on my own, so freaked out. But if there was anything else I would change, is I would either go to Cheney or I would go to Temple. And the funny thing about it is Temple's not an HBCU, but everybody in Philly, until recently, treat it like it is.
It's like an adopted HBCU, I think, because it gets, you know what it is?
Only because the alumni.
The alumni, but I think it's a reputation of the school for what the
Yeah.
school has been culturally. I mean, even during the civil rights movement, like there were students from various colleges and campuses that partook in demonstrations. But Temple, if you really looked into civil rights history, like Temple has had a couple of movements and protests on campus and things like that.
Absolutely.
But so why are we encouraging people to go to HBCUs? I know it sounds like a dumb question, but like if you had to sell HBCU to somebody, how would you do so?
Honestly, that's something that I'm looking up myself as to why. But to be honest with you, I feel like HBCUs hold a lot more culture, and I feel like we need to, teach our younger generations
Most definitely.
more about us instead of the actual standard curriculum.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like HBCUs, they definitely preserve that culture for us.
Right.
They're institutions of preservation for us, and I think it's extremely important. I hate the narrative that's out there that HBCUs don't prepare you for the real world. I
Right.
think that's so false.
Well, so you say that. So, like, how did you hear about HBCU? Because you actually ended up at VSU. So, how did you actually end up going there? You heard about it from when you were younger, or?
Well, when I went to high school, we had the career and college office.
Right.
To be honest with you, like I really don't remember how I heard, but what I took note of was the Black College application. And so what that is it's a single application that allows you to apply to, I think there's over 100 HBCUs, but I think the Black College application has probably somewhere around like 59 affiliates that allow you to apply to the school paying a single application. So you can apply to, I think you choose 4 as your top choice, if it's still the same way, I believe it is.
I believe you were talking about this weeks ago. So
And you
instead of each college having their own application, it's like one application for all of the HBCUs at one time.
Right, not all of them, so not all 100, but it's the ones that participate in the program.
Right.
Right, and so basically what you do is you pay like $20 and you can apply to all these different colleges, and your application can go to your top 4 choices, and then if like maybe there's 5 or a 5th or 6th school that you're really, really interested in, they suggest that you just reach out directly to the school, let them know you have an interest, make sure they have your stuff, your essay, your grades and all of that. That way they can review for an admissions offer.
Yo, and that really, I'll be honest, that's got me really tight right now, because when I was in high school, my guidance counselor, first of all, she sucked. Miss Stewart, yo, you motherfucking you. Nah, because I'm
surprised you actually remember her name, because
Nah, of course I don't remember. And anybody
her.
who's from Uniondale High School knows Miss Stewart did not really give as much of an energy to certain students as she possibly could. I'm just going to say that. But I say that because when I was younger and I was talking about college stuff with Miss Stewart, first thing she said to me, no discredit to her, was, oh, you should just go to Nassau Community College, which is basically the 13th grade.
Right.
And so, and I say that because it's a hometown, community college, but I was just okay, well, I want to pursue video game design, or I want to get into acting or entertainment somehow. And she didn't really she didn't take me seriously, in my opinion, on, hey, like, this is what this path can look like, or even what kind of college can put you in touch with there. The few people at my high school who went to HBCUs, they found out from one or two places. Number one was Miss Fowler from Udell High School. Shout out Miss Fowler. She didn't work with me, but I know she worked with a lot of black students. She's black herself. She really encouraged HBCUs to students like just on her own.
Right.
I didn't even know what the process was. I just didn't get involved with it because it was something where I was trying to do with my guidance counselor. But then fast forward behind that, the other way, there was an HBCU college tour that people at my high school
Right, so I did that too. And you know what? I take that back. I think there was a teacher by the name of Miss Milner. And I believe she was responsible for my interest and for my knowledge on HBCUs because she graduated from one. I believe she's a Zeta as well. She's a member of Zeta Phi Beta.
You know what? I got a funny story about that, but you go ahead.
So I feel like now that you're talking about it, it helped me remember. And I really feel like she was the main influencer because I was always in her office, me and a bunch of other students. And I know a good majority of us. Now that I think back, a lot of us went because there were people from my high school that went to Virginia State University with me, and then there's also a number of other students that I know that went to historically black colleges and universities as well.
Right. So Ben, what about you? Like, what was your guidance counselor like in high school? Did she or he try to put you on with HBCUs, or they try to guide you somewhere?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I went to Fells High School in Philly, man, deep in the trap of Philly. Okay, and the reason why I don't remember my guidance counselor's name because I don't remember my guidance counselor doing anything.
Right.
For real.
So
it's crazy. Like my experience was completely different.
And I want to touch up on that because that's
here's a question. Then what high school did you go to?
I went to Harry S. Truman High School in the Bronx.
Right.
I don't remember my counselor's name, but I know she, if I'm not mistaken, I believe she was an Italian woman. You know, and she just.
New York education is better than Philly education.
She just
well, I'll
really
be honest, I ain't trying to come to
took
Philly,
us
but yeah, your education be questioned.
Like, cause I even remember her telling me about writing to the schools and requesting for them to waive my college application fee.
The finesse with scholarships
because I came from, my mom didn't have it.
Yeah.
You know, my mom, she's a phlebotomist. She's probably making, I don't know at the time, probably was making $30,000 a year, if that.
Yeah.
You know, I think I might be being generous, even. And we just didn't have it. So to have to apply to all these schools and paying these $40, $50 application fees left and right, I mean that adds up.
So, but peep the common denominator, right? Like, so you did have someone that introduced you to the world of HBCUs, right? Mm-hmm. You didn't really have that as well, but you just knew from your area because you were in Temple. All right, maybe that's something close to HBCU. My story was my guidance counselor, she really wasn't up on game like that. The reason I say that is because when you're talking about young black folk, and we're talking about the betterment of their future, what I'm finding is it's got to come from us. Because it's like we don't know best, we know better. You know what I'm saying? I can't say we know best, because right now I can tell you something in full sincerity to benefit your life, and it might not help. But I say that because, like, HBCUs for me is going to an institution where you're being educated, you're getting perspective, but it's coming from a place of familiarity. Mm-hmm. Think about how much you know now and where you learned it from, right? Imagine how much more could you learn, or how much more would you know if it came from a familiar place?
A lot.
You know what I'm saying? It's like saying, yo, in my opinion, it's like saying, with the amount of things that you know now, it's like great value laundry detergent.
I always say if I know now what I knew then, like that, right. I say that all the time because I feel like us as a community, like we're behind the curve a lot because like me, I'm first generation high school graduate. I'm first generation college graduate. I'm first generation MBA. I'm first generation military.
I just wanna,
I'm first generation, never been in trouble with the law. Like, I never even had a traffic ticket, so for me, yes, I've never had a traffic ticket.
So you drive safe?
So I wouldn't say all that. But I've probably been pulled over at least a dozen times. But let's just say that,
I got pulled over a dozen times.
I always get let go. They always give me a warning. I don't know what it is. I don't know,
You don't know what it is?
What? Because I'm a female? That's what you're gonna say?
Probably.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with my military status and the fact that I don't have, when they pull me up, I don't have anything.
That would be.
But prior to that, I think prior to the military, I probably got pulled over twice.
Yeah.
But, I'm first generation, a lot of things. So, and I'm trying to set that standard for my son.
And it's like one of those things where, of course, like we celebrate that, but that's why I'm so big on encouraging HBCUs, because once again, getting information from a familiar place will not only stay with you longer, but it will resonate differently, right? Mm-hmm. Like when you're in college and you hear something from a professor, you take it fairly objective because, right, you don't know them, they don't know you, but it's information, you gotta look at it. I get that. But imagine if you're in a media class and you have a black professor that's telling you how black people are affected in media, right? Mm-hmm. How we're represented in media.
We're gonna absorb that information.
Right. Like I had
the relations there.
I had an older gentleman, right? Professor Bonet. I'm telling you, Professor Bonet is a real one, yo. I got so much love for Professor Bonet. Essentially, him and Professor Archer, these two intellectual professors of mine at my college. Bonet, I was applying for a job at a radio station in Buffalo, New York, and I had to take a train up there a few times. Long story short, I was talking to him about the opportunity. This is my senior year of college. And I was telling him, I've been going back XYZ. Him and a couple of other professors got money together to get me a train ticket.
Damn.
You know what I mean? And I say that because, bro, we're so used to having to do shit on our own, and we're so used to having to be resourceful and hustle that we don't expect it from anywhere. But the craziest part is I mentally was exhausting myself just to get to this spot. But guess what? An older brother and a group of other people got together, said we believe in him, and
this was
paid it forward.
This was before
GoFundMe. I didn't even ask him for the bread. You know what I mean? Like he straight up was just like, nah, because we know you're capable. We know this is something that's for you. So we're investing in you to do this because we know what you're gonna do is gonna put forward for other people. Now I didn't get the job, but I'll tell you, getting that kind of help, and because it came from a familiar place, it meant so much more to me. That's my own little microcosm of like, wow, what could an HBCU have been like? I have friends of mine who were like sick, and then, like the professors would like go to their dorms and check up on them and this and that, because once again they understand that as black folk, like life can have its challenges.
Yeah, the sense of community at HBCU is definitely like none other. I just remember it's so hard to even explain.
What was one of your favorite like euphoric type of moments at VSU? Like when you was in there and you like felt something in your heart?
Just being on the yard, man. Yeah. Being on the yard, being around like-minded individuals, and learning from people that look like you. I didn't have that in growing up in the Bronx. I mean, yeah, we had black teachers and stuff, but I think the first time I had even like a black male teacher, I'm gonna say professor, was in college. Like that was non-existent to me. Like it wasn't something that you saw. And then to navigate all of that, when I joined the military and then got out, that's when I finished my bachelor's degree. And I went to Enroll College in the Bronx. It's a city campus. Yeah. So, multicultural staff, but primarily white teachers or professors as well. And when you got a black one, you was like, yes! You were celebrating it.
Yeah, the thing is, you went to VSU, you had a couple experiences. My experience was going to Bloomsburg, where it was just a pocket of us, and we all had to stick together in the middle of basically white America. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like we kind of made our own community within ourselves.
Yeah, so, I mean, don't get it twisted. Like we were definitely up against some challenges being in Petersburg, Virginia, because you had this town called Colonial Heights, and they called it Colonial Whites. And they basically told us, like, yo, don't be caught on the wrong side of the train tracks after a certain time, because there was still, like, people doing dumbness, And to me, I mean, it just didn't make sense. I really, really, truly wish I had the funding to finish. So, like, for me, I had a partial scholarship. And then by the end of my freshman year, though, I was already about, $25,000 in debt. And then when I did my sophomore year, I went for in-state residency to reduce my tuition costs. And then what I ended up doing, I lost my partial scholarship because it was an out of state. And I didn't do my research and my homework prior to.
Dang.
So, and here's the thing, like I wish I would have had someone to guide me when I did that, or at least stop me and ask me and be like, yo, are you sure this is what you want to do? Because this is where it's going to put you. I also wish that I was vulnerable enough at the time to share my story with staff and faculty and see if maybe there was a better way for me to navigate that, you know? And that's something that I'll never know. It's something I'll never know because I never gave it an opportunity. I was very closed off. To me, I was like almost kind of like a misfit in college because I was working full time. You know, I joined
a misfit. Dang, I mean,
where I was going. I'm sorry, but where I was going, there were a lot of military brats. Because you had, you know, Fort Lee down the hill, the Army base. There were a lot of military brats, so there were a lot of students, at least the circle that I was in, where their parents were paying for their phone bill, their parents were paying for their rent, their parent was helping out, their parent gave them a car.
Because they were in a military background, so right.
There was a lot of students, you know, were military brats, you know, so their parents were better off than, you know, say like mine. Right. You know, and I'm not saying that there weren't other students that had same or similar struggles as me, or maybe took a little bit longer to graduate because of those financial challenges. But for me, I just wish I would have been more vulnerable, more open about my story at the time. I feel like I probably would have just had a whole nother direction.
But I wouldn't blame myself. I don't think anyone in this room would blame ourselves because that's how we're conditionally taught.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Taught to get it on our own from the day we walked out the womb.
Yeah,
you know
I don't regret the path that I went down at all by any means. I think it helped build me into the person that I am today. I mean, for crying out loud, I was able to get my MBA and I have no student debt. You know, so joining the military.
Them 3 letters. MBA.
Joining the military.
My bank account.
What I was able to do was pay off my student loans from Virginia State University, right, and get my bachelor's, and then go on and still have enough money left over to get my master's. So the path put me on a great one, right? But at the end of the day, it's like I still feel like I could have had that full experience.
Yeah. You know what? I just had an idea. I want to talk about the financial status of HBCUs, right? Because there's a lot of
they don't get enough
up and down about that.
funding.
But I think we should take a quick break. You know what I'm saying? Get a couple mixes in. We'll come back.
Songs in there.
Go a couple songs in there. Make sure y'all staying with us, staying locked in, getting entertained.
But we definitely need to talk about the funding of HBCUs because Cheney damn near shut down.
Yo, I have a couple things I want to share about schools who have almost been shut down and the financial status and some changes now to get schools more exposure. So we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
Soon.
Before I get to the mix, I'm really glad we had this episode because there's a lot of jewels that people could take. A lot of the viewers that you're listening, like a lot of jewels that you can take. You know what I'm saying? Like for example, don't become an in-state resident, especially if you have like an out-of-state scholarship. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So really research on the type of scholarship that you are getting because there are things that you need to follow in order to keep that scholarship.
Right, certain criteria you gotta meet.
We're not talking just GPA. We're talking like, yo, don't switch your status up. You know what I'm saying? So, and like, there's a lot of free money out there. Like I just Googled, and there's a ton of research. We'll get back to it.
But it won't be with me. Too busy chasing the bag, getting stupid bread. What I look like putting a ring on secret. She said.
LASIK.
You see my shirt, you know, all that PlayStation. Yo, shout out to everybody that copped that PlayStation 5. That's like mad early as hell, but I'm gonna tell you right now. If your system starts overheating or glitching or anything, don't be mad at me, okay? I warned y'all. Every game system that comes out, when you buy it, like when it first comes out, there's always something wrong with it. All the way back to the first PlayStation, all the way back to N64, all that shit. So, if your girl bought you a PlayStation 5, cool. Just don't be mad if it overheats in like 2 days.
Why you sound? Is that sodium? Something from you?
No. I'm driving by my own PlayStation.
It's just the sodium level. Just
Nah, ain't no salt. Ain't no salt at all, man.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Ain't no salt at all. It's garlic. There ain't no salt.
All right. No, because so my roommate, I walked in on my roommate.
You bought your own PlayStation 5?
Wait, all right, hold on. No, I meant to say, I said I walked in on my roommate and his girlfriend, but not in that kind of way. What I mean is, I walked in and why are you shaking your head?
I'm listening.
So we'll see what happened was.
See.
No, see, actually no, he was unboxing his PS5 in the kitchen, and like so I walk in and they vibing and whatever, and I'm walking in and they dancing. What the fuck going on? And I'm looking crazy, and I see the PS5 on the counter. I'm like, put two and two together. She bought him a PS5, and I'm sitting here like, yo, it was magical to see that happen in person. Because we keep talking so much about, buying a PS5. What you gonna do for this PS5? Hey, my man really did it. So I'm excited for him. You know why I'm excited for him? Because I'm also excited for me.
Because you gonna play. What did he do?
Yeah, but
you got one.
Hey, the gesture is awesome. All I'm talking about is the mechanics.
All right. Well,
if that's shit, I hope he has a warranty.
Manufacturer warranty covered.
Okay, well then there you go.
But so we don't. So HBCUs, man, HBCUs have had a long reputation for being underfunded,
Absolutely.
Not having a lot of money, right?
Absolutely.
Now to put things into context, so what was it? The Voting Rights Act passed in 1965,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But what people don't realize is a lot of other initiatives that came with the voting rights. So you talk about child labor laws also came about. Housing discriminatory laws also came about.
Mm-hmm.
Another big thing that also came about,
Desegregation.
desegregation. Mm-hmm. Another major thing that came about that time period also was a restructuring of federal funding to HBCUs. Because when you think about the civil rights movement, a lot of it was fueled by college students, right? You know, when you have SNCC in North Carolina, the list goes on.
Right.
But college students, a lot of them had protests and things on campus. So as a, sign of recognizing that predominantly black colleges were showing out for civil rights, they restructured financial federal funding for them. However, since then, once again, there still is a reputation about HBCUs not having bread. So, why do you think that is actually a thing, where HBCUs don't seem to be thriving as much as other colleges?
I feel like once desegregation took place and there was opportunity for, Black America to go to other colleges and have other options, especially like the Ivies, I feel like the direction kind of switched a little bit, and so attendance was probably down in these other universities, because I think since the early 1900s, it's about almost 30 HBCUs or so that have closed since then,
right?
Because of the funding.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's kind of what started the shift.
The shift because of the interrogation, not interrogation. I'm sorry.
So think of it like this: HBCUs were actually were created. Also, a lot of them were founded by abolitionists or people who sympathize with.
So before the 60s, you had no choice but to go to
exactly.
Right,
So,
you gotta remember, it was illegal. If you were a black person and you could read and write, you were considered a threat.
Yeah.
You were considered a threat. So it was illegal for us to learn.
Yeah. So with that, when you think about it,
this was after 1865.
This was in 1800. This is 18.
We're talking about Abraham Lincoln. Let's say Emancipation Proclamation, slaves are free.
Right. Exactly.
Just because slaves are free, right, doesn't mean that people are still going to co-sign with that, right? By not co-signing on that, even though free was applicable at the time, if they went to go to a college or a school or whatever, it's not even about legality, it's vitriol. Because now you're going to a space where they don't want you there.
Right.
And they're like, who the F are you? No, I'm not going to give you no education. Or they're just going to do whatever nonsense to keep you out.
Right,
so
exactly.
That's how HBCU started.
Because that was the
only place that we was able to learn.
Right, and I think abolitionists.
That's when most of the people started.
So it's like a floodgate where all the water was being pulled only to, or water being black folk was pulled to HBCUs, because that was the only place you can go for higher education. The second integration became a thing, now that floodgate opens and all of that water spread out to other institutions that we previously didn't have access to.
Right.
So it's like Dr. King said something to the effect of, I feel that we have integrated my people into a burning house. You know, ultimately, integration and equality is something that, you know, Dr. King was
the last things he said.
Right before he got assassinated. So
because he started talking like Malcolm X.
Well, I think he realized that. I think his ultimate goal with equality was supposed to be this way, but when it came about, he realized, oh, this is not really what it is. So I think he started shifting his focus elsewhere because he thought it was a race thing. It's a race and a class thing. That's why he was going to that protest for the garbage men who were going to protest in Tennessee, because now he was getting ready to champion fair wages and equal, working conditions. So with that, I say all of this to wrap up one big ass bubble. HBCUs were major because it were the only institutions that would allow us to go in and not have the bullshit. Okay. Now, with where we are today, it's like, what's the incentive to go to an HBCU when you have so many other options? And we're also talking about, the advancement of black folk in a different capacity, because now a lot of us have a lot more capital now than our predecessors. So it's like, people are not confined to have to only go to HBCU.
Living went a lot higher too. So when you put that into it, did we really step up?
Yeah, I mean, and it's subjective. Like it can be an up and down conversation, but like. So once again, that's one reason why HBCUs have been losing money, but they've also been making headlines, getting a lot of exposure.
Mm-hmm, right? Especially now with a lot of politicians. You got Kamala Harris, you got Stacey Abrams, you got...
And then even just prominent people like Chadwick Boseman.
Hopefully now the tide will start turning, you know what I'm saying? Because I mentioned this in the chat room yesterday and he corrected me. Like when I was... watching TV back when I was younger in the 80s and 90s, A Different World, Fresh Prince, Cosby Show, they were Martin, right? Mm-hmm. They were wearing like different HBCU outfits, you know what I'm saying, where you actually want to go to HBCU. Hell, you had movies like Drumline, that was the early 2000s. You want to go to HBCU?
Drumline was popping. I think everybody would go to HBCU.
Bro, Drumline made me be like, dude, I want that.
And you know what today's drumline is Beyonce's Homecoming.
Yo, let's talk about that. Yo. So my thing is, I'll be honest, I've not been one of the Beehive, but after Homecoming, Beyonce got me, dog. I'm telling you, that Before I Let Go remix, bro, that thing made me love being black so much, dog. Because
Wait, Before I Let Go remix.
Yeah, she did
I know she did that, but
I'm about to say, you feel some type of way.
Nah, you know what? No, here, once again.
In a good way.
In a good way.
In a good way.
No, because I'm saying like the song is dope, but it's like for us, the Electric Slide and Before I Let Go is its own thing.
Yeah.
But then she also mixed in like the band element that you get from HBCUs on an actual track because she did it live.
Right.
And then on top of that, she sampled dum 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 dum. I'm saying what? Hold on, you can't help yourself. So I say that because it hit me on a lot of levels at one time. Like if I've never been to experience an HBCU band or football game, but the feeling you get when you're at the band and they be playing that music, drumline, this music was fire, brass and drums and shit, right?
Right.
That's a vibe.
Right.
Then you talk about just tastes like candy. Anytime you hear at a black function, everybody hit the Electric Slide. Then you take the other element of Frankie, whoa, you know what I'm saying? And you put all that shit in one song. Whoa, I could not stay seated. Now, of course, and then B had to put her own flavor on it because then at the end, snap your hands to the right. Ooh, she did all her own version of the Electric Slide or whatever with a bunch of different dances.
So I should stop being a hater of people trying to remake stuff, because when people remake stuff that is already perfect, I look at them sideways like, why ruin a good thing, bro? Why? Yo, Frankie Beverly.
I feel like some of the better songs that's out today is because they were taken from songs that.
Before they go, it's a culture classic. It's a great song. Anthem. I'm just saying, Beyonce gave it a little of a touch up on it to make it hot. Because here's another thing. Do you realize a lot of the shit we know in our culture won't really get passed down unless we repurpose it time and time again? Like, Before I Let Go, dope song. The kids now who grow up on Lil Pump, Lil Who, Lil Me, fucking Lil You, 6ix9ine, Uzi Vert. Nah, no offense, and there's no slack to their intelligence, but how often do you think they're going to hear Before I Let Go? Or something similar to that?
If their parents don't teach them.
Right. So, and what Beyonce does is that she kind of makes it a little bit more fun and appealing, just for the times, right? Mm-hmm. Chadwick Boseman, dude portrayed famous black folk that, have done things for the culture, but a lot of us never would have heard that story if he didn't play those roles. Right. Like Ray, you know what I'm saying? I'll say Ray. I'm sorry. James Brown. Yeah. Right. James Brown. But okay, so.
You're talking about Jackie Robinson.
James Brown, Thurgood Marshall. And it's like, that information, bro, I got something from it. I knew about it, but seeing it in real life was dope. Imagine somebody who could be 30, 40, or even younger, who knows nothing of Thurgood Marshall, and now they see that story because of Boseman, and now they get a perspective of, oh shit, I can actually maybe be in law, or whatever the case may be. But I just say that because from an exposure standpoint, like, HBCUs have come a long way. Like right now, Deion Sanders, he became the head coach of Jackson State, which is in Florida. So he and a number of other NFL players have gone back and tried to work at HBCUs in different capacities.
I think he has like his all-star coaching staff. Like Warren Sapp is like the defensive coordinator and stuff. Like, it's ridiculous when you see that coaching staff. Like for real, it makes you want to age backwards and go play for him.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been like, I guess like mention of HBCUs, but definitely not like it was in the 80s and the 90s.
Because HBCUs was on decline.
But you got Beyonce. I mean, I think Drake's made mention of HBCUs in his song. You got J. Cole that has made mention of HBCUs in his songs. Chris Paul with the sneaker game at the NBA games, representing different HBCUs. So it's out there, but I definitely think we're at a turning point.
Yeah.
And then with Deion Sanders going and becoming coach at Jackson State.
And bringing him his Hall of Fame buddies.
So check this. This is some of the people that he mentioned that are going to help him with coaching. So he said Michael Irvin Smith working with the receivers, Emmitt Smith with the running backs, Charles Haley with defensive line, and then Eric Williams, who's a Hall of Fame with the offensive line. So, and these are all brothers. Right? Now,
all Hall of Famers.
Now, here's the tricky part. I came up with this. I found a statistic here, and this is from theundefeated.com. So, from 68 to 76, after the NFL-AFL merger, between 53 and 70 players from HBCUs were taken every year in the draft. So, about 53 to 70 players. Wow. There have only been 70 HBCU players taken in the NFL in the last 20 years since 2000.
Wow.
So they went from taking a boat of HBCU players a year. They took 53 to 70 a year. And now, within the last 20 years, they've only had 70 of them. Now, that's a different conversation.
That's like 2 a year.
Right. Now, that's a different conversation, but we're saying the transition of HBCUs are being, first of all, black people being celebrated for being athletes and rappers and entertainers. Bet. And all these colleges are making money off of college players, their likeness, their image, and all of that shit.
Right.
Now, take that same thing. Let's get HBCUs in the same area so they can make bread and continue to be the cultural pillars they need to be. But for a very long time, HBCUs don't get that kind of love.
They don't get that funding. I think that's what it boils down to. Like, we could talk about HBCUs till the cows come home, but if there's no funding to keep them open, to update their education system and their athletic system, then what are they going to do? So,
high-profile people like Deion Sanders. So what's been happening a lot is, I think you mentioned Chris Paul, high-profile black folk, whether they went to HBCUs or not, are now using their platform to bring awareness to HBCUs and what they can do, right? And one of my favorites is one of my favorite comedians. His name is Clint Coley. He's from Philly, actually.
I remember Clint Coley.
Yeah, he's a funny cat. And so he constantly references HBCUs. He went to Temple and dropped out.
Oh, okay.
He constantly references HBCUs. So he'll do a podcast as well, and he'll wear different HBCU sweaters. Dude, he does stand-up comedy. He also does stand-up comedy where he'll wear different HBCUs. So he brings awareness to it You know what I'm saying? By with his own thing. Deion Sanders' son is a 4-star recruit quarterback. Now he was committing between another school in Florida and Jackson State. Now his dad is a head coach.
Now he's going to Jackson.
Now he's going to Jackson State. That, as of today, they said that Deion Sanders' son is the highest prospect that the school has ever recruited. And you're seeing this advent now of black student athletes who are withdrawing their commitments to other big institutions and recommitting to HBCUs because there's this realization of, yo, we need to start putting our resources to
right. There was basketball players that did that too.
Yeah, because
so basketball. Speaking of basketball, I think they've been more on game on keeping the culture like alive more than any other sport. Case in point, CIAA in Charlotte every single year, where it's a tournament of HBCUs going at it. It's like, you know how they have the Final Four, the NCAA tournament?
Right.
You have the CIAA tournament where it's specifically for HBCUs.
Oh, they're no longer in Charlotte anymore.
Yeah.
As of this year, CIAA is going to be, I think, in Baltimore. Yeah.
I don't know why they did that. I think it's North Carolina's fault. I think it was the government.
Yeah, it most likely was. But yeah, so HBCUs are getting so much more exposure and notoriety and stuff like that, and it's one of those things where, shoot, Michael Strahan, he has a collection of men's suits that he designs, right? He is going to outfit Deion Sanders' college football team with suits on game day.
Damn, that's so dope.
You know what I'm saying? And the ultimate testament, I'm going to say, when it comes to HBCUs, the value of HBCUs, Robert Smith, the wealthy dude who paid off the entire tuition for the graduating class in Morehouse.
Morehouse, that's right.
So my man worked in finance or technology or something like that. Went to Morehouse. He's an alumni. He was a commencement speaker for Morehouse at the ceremony. He's saying his speech and everything about encouraging and all this other stuff. He said, look, as of today, I'm going to cover the entire college tuition, loans. He paid off their loans. Imagine sitting in graduation, bro, and your commencement speaker just told you that he just paid off your college loans.
No, I
bet money. I think I saw this video a while ago.
Bro,
there wasn't a dry eye in that place after that.
And if I remember correctly, I could be wrong. I think he said something about also paying the parents' debts. I'm like, but let me have a child and then get somebody to pay my loans. What? I'm just saying.
Morehouse did that.
Yo, but that's the reason why he did it. It could be a million things. But he graduated from Morehouse, got into the world, went into places that nobody expected him to be, overcome the odds, became highly successful, came back to his college and said, I'm going to pay for the entire graduating class. Now these are people who get to go into society and really focus or pursue what it is without the burden and the weight of student loans.
Right.
Bro, that is a man
amazing.
who knows that being black in America is fucking tiring. That's a dude who knows, he's like, bro, we got so much shit we gotta carry, but if I can take this one little thing off of their shoulders, I know they're going to be the agents of change for our culture and our community to move forward. And that's black doctors, that's, you know what I'm saying, lawyers. These are people who implement, you know what I'm saying, like Stacey Abrams and Kamala Harris. We're going to have way more cats like that because of people like Robert Smith. That's the reason why.
We do need more of that, man, because, I mean, I've been seeing a lot of people just trying to be the next little bump or the next Chief Keef. Listen, man, listen. If I'm 65, 70 years old and I need a hip replacement, I don't need somebody who's going to be guessing on what the fuck I need to do, but knows the lyrics to Veneto, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I need black doctors, I need black lawyers, I need, you know, we need people like that.
Yeah, I definitely hope that with Biden and Harris going into office that funding is restructured and that we, you know, they start getting the support that they need, because we definitely need, like I said, I think we're at a turning point in society with HBCUs and black society, and I think they're definitely going to be the front runners, especially, you know, well, there's also talk about, like the Black Ivies getting too much attention.
Black Ivies?
Yeah, so that's like your Howard.
That's
your Spelman.
Yeah.
You know, that's all your prestigious, like,
Spelman,
top
Howard.
Yeah.
Like those are the top three that I can think of. I don't know. Clark Atlanta has a lot of popularity, but I don't know.
Let's just focus on the fact that there are now over 100 HBCUs. Like, I didn't know that. I thought there were like 30.
Oklahoma is definitely. I think there's 101 to be exact. There's 101 HBCUs throughout the country.
Question: are there any HBCUs in the West Coast?
I don't think so. Nah, I don't think there's the only one
I think there's one in California, if I'm not mistaken.
To be honest, I feel like
But
majority.
they're primarily in the southern states.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything past Mississippi other than in Oklahoma. I'm blanking out on the name of it. Langston Hughes.
Okay.
Langston Hughes University of Oklahoma is an HBCU. I think that's probably one of the few that's like west of the Mississippi.
Okay.
But I think also geographically, where they're located, these are in, predominantly black places. So, you talk about your Virginias, your Alabamas, your Georgias, your, you know what I'm saying, South Carolinas.
Maybe North Carolina, Texas, Mississippi, Maryland.
Like, these were all Bible Belt areas where, slavery was very prominent because you have the advent of the black migration where you had, like, between the 40s and the 60s, a lot of black folk from down south going to your Chicago's, your Detroit's, your Midwest, your New York's, your Boston's. And what happens is you get that culture, but then you have a lot, and these are people who were previously enslaved or whatever. Now you have descendants and those who were previously enslaved who are still in those areas and are able to, have generations and then, all right, well, we have a HBCU because we've had a need for it. You know what I mean? Oklahoma is interesting too because there's a whole bunch of black folk, also Tulsa, Oklahoma. You know what I'm saying? Black Wall Street. That was a thing. Hence, you know what I'm saying? It's not a coincidence that Black Wall Street and Langston Hughes University are both, not too far from one another. So it's like...
Nels, how was the curriculum at Virginia State? Like, a lot of people have this stigma of, I'm not going to learn as much in the HBCU than a regular college. Like, how wrong is that?
I think it's extremely wrong. I mean, because to me, at least in my experience, you get 2 lessons, right? There's nothing, in your math class, you get your math lesson, but you also get a history lesson too, So, that's not true. I mean, even HBCUs have some of the best STEM programs out there. So, like, that narrative is completely false. It's just that, again, we don't have the funding that they need to be to survive right now, and we gotta change that narrative. We gotta start publicizing HBCUs and encouraging our kids to go there. I know I definitely am, and my son, I definitely know he's gonna be a STEM major once he gets to that point. And yeah, he's gonna be going. I'm looking at Tuskegee for him. Okay. Yeah. I think another friend mentioned a school in one of North Carolina schools as well. I'm not sure. I think
A&T is a party school. I'm gonna be 100 with you. A&T, you might have to watch him because he's gonna be in trouble. He go to A&T. They have a thing called Greatest Homecoming on Earth. Yo, it really is a big deal. Like one of my good homies, he's from there, and he went to A&T, and they tell me, dog, between the different homecomings they go to, A&T really has a reputation for like the greatest homecoming on earth. Like it's lit. But I'm telling you, your son, but
I really think that narrative is false. I can honestly say that I probably felt most challenged when I was going to VSU for my first 2 years. Granted, when I went to the other schools that I went to complete my bachelor's and to get my MBA, there was challenges there. I think I graduated my bachelor's with a 4.0 and I got my MBA with a 3.8.
She just dropped that in there.
At VSU, at VSU I had a 3.7. And then my second year, my grades went phew, because I was working full time and trying to figure out how I'm going to pay for this tuition. So it dropped to a 2.9. But
that's right.
Regardless, like
2.9 is still like a B.
Yeah.
That was a 2.7.
I mean, when you're paying for your own school, when you're paying for your own education, you trying to be far away from being on academic probation.
I wasn't on academic probation, but let's just say I was a few screws.
But no, I definitely feel like I was more challenged at Virginia State than I was in my other school.
That's why I wish I went to HBCU, because to be honest with you, I wasn't disciplined, not even in the slightest. Y'all talking about I want to stay away from academic probation. Academic probation was all I know.
Oh gosh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because it was all the partying, man. And when you're 17, you live on your own. All it's just party. That's it. So
You know what I think too? To your point about black HBCUs having some of the best STEM programs, I sincerely believe. So, two favorite people of mine, W.E.B. Du Bois and I think I'm blanking on his name. I'm about to say Thurgood Marshall. Who was his counterpart? Who was his rival? W.E.B. Du Bois and Tuskegee. Who founded Tuskegee again? I forget his name.
I'm drawing a blank.
Was George Washington Carver?
I think so.
Man, I feel so bad.
You have a computer right in front of you.
I'm about to make a point, but it just left me. But anyway, let's on to the next thing. So I'm curious about this though. What was the different types of like blackness that you felt at VSU? Because you got black folk from like Detroit, you got black folk from down south, you got black from like what was that? Was it a big like eye opener just to be like, oh, this is different types of blackness, or was it just automatically?
Yeah, so I really didn't realize the different types of blackness that were out there. I remember my mom, her first warning to me was, "Hey, if somebody offers you chitlins, just say no."
Ooh,
I had no idea what it was.
She's right.
No,
I had no idea what they were.
They call them doodle doodles.
I didn't know what they were. So
Doodle noodles.
there were a lot of people that I
It
knew.
smells like shit when you cook it. Like, I mean, no. No, matter of fact, comment below on this video when it comes out on YouTube to the people that eat chitlins, right?
You said shitlins. I heard you.
Chitlins.
Well, I promise you, I never will try some chitlins.
I'd rather starve to death. Let me tell you something. Why do you all eat chitlins?
Well, alright.
But that was my exposure to
Slavery's over, man. Wow, that's why.
Hey, bro, it's the same reason why we eat guido. Come on, bro. Nah, cause look, like, think about
Pork
it.
shoulder? Are you comparing pork shoulder?
No.
To fucking large intestine?
Bruh, think about it. When you think about the cuisine of black folks, especially soul food, right? Soul food came about because they were provided ingredients, or lack thereof, and have to come up with stuff out of nowhere. So if you talk about people, I'm not gonna call them the M word, which is massive because they kiss my ass. When them white folk were killing or getting butchered animals and things like that, they will give them all the entrails and leftovers that they wouldn't use, and then they have to take that and then make lack of not to put a pun, but make a soup out of shit.
Yeah. I guess to me, like I didn't realize that there were different types of black out there, because being in New York, growing up in the Bronx, you're exposed to Caribbean black people, right? So everybody I knew coming from New York was Jamaican, Haitian, Trinidadian, Dominican, Puerto Rican, so forth, so on, all like Caribbean people. And then you go down south, right? And then you learn Southern black culture and what that's all about. I think a lot of people in my circle, I did have a circle, New York, New Jersey. I had a circle that was primarily Virginia. A lot of them were military brats, like I said before.
Do they have a twang in their voice?
Oh yeah, definitely sound Southern. And then my best friend, her crew, they're from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh yeah, no, they definitely got some mustard in there.
She was the one that I asked about what they were, because I didn't know what
Once she passed Virginia, North Carolina, that's the real South right
there. I've met people from everywhere. And I tell you, North Carolina, they got this little tang in their accent. Come on, man, cheap, whatever. But I remember my point. So Booker T. Washington. All right. So W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington. W.E.B. Du Bois is one of my favorite individuals because he's also Haitian. But so he was Du Bois was very much a scholar. Okay. For those who aren't aware, I'm just making sure. He was a scholar, and he believed that the path to success for black folk was to become educated, because obviously a lot of us black people were in fields and we're doing agricultural things, farming, textile, creating things, manufacturing things. So Booker T said, black people need to focus on skill sets in agriculture and the technology as a means to make money and also become their own business owners. The reason I say that they're rivals is because, like King and X, they both wanted the same thing for black folk, but just wanted different ways. Right. For me, I say this: when you think about it's not a coincidence that a lot of HBCUs have very strong agricultural programs.
Oh yeah,
because at the time that they were founded and created, black folk who were coming to college, once again, writing and English was not a big topic point. But you might get somebody who's been in the field for X amount of time and has a green thumb, or more importantly, somebody who's good with their hands. That's the case. I'm not trying to draw a thread to like stereotyping, but that's the reality of it. That's why STEM is so big, because it's not just about coding and computers. It's about the manufacturing, it's the application, it's the hands-on side of it. So that's why when you have A&T, North Carolina Agriculture and Technology, right? Same thing with the Tuskegee Institute. You go there, there's a lot of like engineering and those type of roles. So I make that point because when I look at HBCUs, it's really the best of both worlds, because you have the opportunity to become that intellectual and become a global citizen while still knowing your culture, according to Du Bois. But then also you go to these institutions where you go to an A&T or you go to an agricultural program, and they have these things to where it also follows that path. Become an engineer, maybe you work for somebody else,
and
or
it
maybe your own
also
thing.
stems to what's getting popular nowadays, which is urban farming.
Oh yeah.
So now with, I think what the Food and Drug Administration is pretty much slacking now, ain't it? Am I right?
Well, after the government shut down for a little bit, I'm sure a lot of shit came into the country that the FDA didn't inspect. So
it's very, very important.
They probably still backed up at this point. I wouldn't even hold you.
We're very into making our own food, like growing our own food, making our own food, urban farming.
What's in it?
Yeah,
I know what's in it. Exactly.
I promise you, black people, I feel like we are inherently vegan. I think we're inherently supposed to be vegan, because if you look at health issues in the black community, diabetes, stress, stroke, heart disease,
I never looked at it that way.
You got to think of it like this. With the things we eat, right? We're eating the diet. I'm going to be 1 million with you. I'm Caribbean, right? I'm Haitian.
I'm Caribbean.
If you think about the way that we ate, we're all Caribbean. If you culture vibes. Shout out to my guy Kevin, St. Vincent brother, or Virgin Islands. I forget where you're from, bro. But anyway, think of it like this: if we eat the diets like the way we ate when we were kids. If we were to eat like that for the rest of our lives, we would be generally healthy. Like some type of rice, a little bit of protein, some plantain or some yams or whatever, right? Yeah. But now you start eating all this processed shit, fast food or whatever, and nobody's perfect. Or, we're consuming dairy at the rate that we're consuming it. We notice that we're having this advent of health issues in our community for shit that really wasn't designed for us, right? Now, I only use myself as an example because I'm like, dog, imagine if black people were to literally eat the things that work with them. You know what I'm saying?
They actually got like these genetic tests out there that you could take to see like what goes with your DNA, like what the type of foods you should be eating that's compatible with your body or with your DNA.
I need to stop planning and taking that DNA test for her.
I have one and I haven't sent it in.
There's this book that I met someone who told me about it. She said it's called The Melanated Diet.
Oh, I heard about that too.
And it's a book that's designed for, melanated people and the type of diet that we should consume. She also told me about another book. It was called Eat Right for Your Blood Type.
Yes, I heard
so
about that.
Depending on your blood type as well, like your body can process certain types of proteins better than others. Like depending on your blood type, maybe something like lean meats and chicken. Another one, maybe you're better off with red meat. But I'm just saying all of that because it's not a coincidence that the things that are good for us or the things that brings us closer to knowing who we are often are the furthest thing away. You know what I'm saying? Like HBCUs can really give a lot of context and familiarity to black folk, but the process to get to one be so fucking crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Also, I was Googling last night too. I mean, there's so much like free money out there for HBCUs. Like Morgan Stanley launched the HBCU scholarship program covering tuition for 60 students like every single year.
Yeah.
Damn. You said Morgan Stanley?
Morgan Stanley.
You know what? Also, I love, man. Like, so HBCUs also birth a very interesting, type of organization. But I like to say
Netflix CEO donates $120 million to HBCUs.
Yeah, we're seeing more of that. I mean, especially with Black Lives
Matter. They all jumping on the train now.
So right now the numbers. So interesting thing about HBCU. So they brought about, of course, black fraternities and sororities, right?
Right.
And so, there's a whole bunch of things that go into them. But I say the birth of it is interesting because, like, there was one organization, well, few, but like, let's say Alpha Phi Alpha Incorporated, for example, right? They were founded at Cornell, which is not an HBCU. But the reason why they came about together ultimately was because they were the few black students on that campus, and they all wanted to associate and relate with one another, but they didn't have too many places to do that. So eventually you started off as a book club, and that's why they were doing it, and then it transitioned into a fraternity. Indiana, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, right? Them cats. Indiana. Interesting fact about them is they were founded because they're in Indiana, racist as fuck. There's nowhere for black people to go and associate with each other, so a group of people came together to do their own thing, right? Same thing with Sigma Gamma Rho, right? So I say this because, and Howard has his HBCUs as well, but I say this is because I've seen the beauty of these type of organizations and many others that have given back to the community in different ways. 2 years ago, I had a friend of mine who was a member of, who was a Delta, and she was having one of these like programs for like the young girls and talking about college and stuff like that. And she was asking for people who,
I think that's the Delta Jones program.
something like that. And she was asking, hey, does anyone have time to sit down with these girls and talk about their college experience, just being black in college? And it's here in Arizona.
Wow, that's
I went there and talked about my college experience, and mind you, I didn't go to an HBCU, but dude, it was a room full of maybe, I don't know, 20 young ladies, right? And dude, I'm telling you, I was blown the fuck away. Like, they're like 15, 17, 12, 13, and they're talking about, yeah, I want to go to school to be a neurosurgeon, or yeah, I want to go. And I'm sitting here like, dude, I couldn't even fathom any of the shit that they're aspiring for. And they are 15 and 12, and these are young black girls. And it's beautiful as fuck because, as we know, there are challenges that black women face as they get older and go into the workforce. But my thing is, man, if black women, black men, whomever, aspire for whatever the fuck it is that you want to do. But once again, circle back, the Deltas had that program. I think to myself like, Arizona is a fucking desert in many ways. There ain't that many places for black folk in general.
Right.
That type of program, for them to do that, you know what I'm saying? Like, they joined an organization that was sorority, that had a bunch of goals and mission statements to put on for the culture. And realistically, they've done that by encouraging and giving these girls a path to a resource for attending college.
And they're definitely going to groom these young ladies.
And they're not the only ones. There are a number of other fraternities, black fraternities and sororities out here that do that. I just bring them up because they're so ingrained with HBCUs. But aside from that, in a couple of non-for-profits like the Urban League or the NAACP that provides resources for black folk outside of college, how many other institutions do you see out there that really focuses on putting back for the culture?
Not much, which is why more of them need to step up.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we all know the NAACP is something that puts on for the culture. Urban League, a good amount of people know that's for the culture. You hear a black fraternity or sorority?
Fraternity and sororities, why do they use Greek letters?
I don't know.
That's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole other
conversation.
We might have to do another episode where it's just focus on fraternities and sororities and bring some of them in here. Like, we might have to do that for a future episode.
I mean, it depends because they're for-profit organizations and they might have an issue about us talking about stuff that pertains to them that isn't allowed to be spoken about.
Right.
Like, they literally go offer like a cease and desist and be like, yeah, dog, you're not allowed to talk about this. And that's why I was even using the, saying their whole name and stuff like that. Because once again, they are for-profit. They're put on for the culture. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, they definitely support and put on, but
there's a
lot that they cannot go on record and speak on.
Like, you hear about the whole secrecy and stuff like that. That's real. It's like saying if somebody from
it's a secret society. All we ask is trust.
Oh, you had to get that in. I'm
sorry.
I'm surprised you.
She about to.
I was waiting for it. But now, on the real, it's just that I love that moment because those girls got so much out of it, and the stories go on. But I'm like, dude, that's what I love seeing. I love seeing how we put on for one another, man. And if I ever got an opportunity and I meet another brother or sister and they trying to get insight on radio or life or whatever, dude, I'd be excited to do that for someone because people have done that for me. You know?
Anybody who's an athlete in high school, if they're offering you a scholarship, best bet is to take it because a lot of schools are not doing seasons right now because of COVID. Mm-hmm. So technically, these colleges don't have to recruit anybody for this year.
Right.
So if they offer you a scholarship, really look into it. I suggest y'all take that shit.
Yeah, take it. And I know we got about 5 minutes left, but I definitely want to get this plugged in. So if you are a junior, well, my battery is going, but if you are a junior, senior this year, definitely go to, I believe it's Common. Oh, can you look this up just to confirm? Yes, it's commonblackcollegeapp.com.
There you go.
commonblackcollegeapp.com.
That's where they have the app for.
That's where they have the application where you can apply to up to 59 HBCUs. I don't believe there's a deadline on it. I know a lot of HBCUs do have rolling admission, but if you want to secure your seat or admissions for fall, I highly suggest you get your application in before January 1st.
Yeah, they say January 1st and January 5th
right.
are commonly college application deadlines.
Also for freshmen and sophomores, they have a practice app on there that you can go and work through to see what you need, where you're at. So that's good for the freshmen and the sophomores. And then also if you want to be a sponsor, you can go on that site and you can actually track the students that you're paying their application fee for and support them. So I thought that was dope too.
We're definitely, like when this video comes out on YouTube, it will be in the description below. We're definitely going to put that.
That's it right here. Apply now, pay only $20 application fee to apply to all 59 member institutions. I'm just going to read some of these off.
Right, Amos?
Alabama A&M. Albany State, Alcorn State, Allen University, Arkansas Baptist, Benedict College, Bennett College, Bethune-Cookman University, Bluefield State, Central State. I ain't gonna say all of them, but I'm just naming a bunch of them.
But but then you got let's name some of the bigger ones though. You got Clark Atlanta, you got Coppin, there's, let's see,
Jackson State. Johnson C. Smith. I forgot. Johnson C. Smith is in Charlotte.
Turn up.
We got Morgan State, Norfolk State, Virginia State University's on there.
Morgan State.
Shaw.
St. Augustine. Stillman, California.
Tuskegee is on there.
Arkansas Pine Bluff.
University of Maryland Eastern Shore.
VSU, Virginia State University, Virginia Union. West VA State University. If you go to West Virginia, man, you better watch your ass.
Yeah, but there's definitely some, Lincoln University's on there too.
Yeah.
That's
Lincoln's near Philly. Yeah. Wish we had that when we were growing up, but you know what?
I mean, the best we can do now is, encourage
pass it forward, man. Because
we did. That's how. That's how I got in. Because I didn't have my family didn't have a lot of money to pay for college apps, and I needed something that was going to get me exposure because I didn't have the greatest grades in high school, but I had enough to, obviously I got accepted, right, to a university, but that was my ticket. That was my ticket to avoid having to pay all these different application fees for all these different colleges, and I went with Virginia State University because they offered me a partial scholarship. Half my tuition was paid for.
For people like me and Cheese, should we go to HBCUs in our 30s?
I'm considering it. No, I'll tell you right. Hey, I'm single. I ain't got nothing else going on, so.
Yeah, it'd probably be a different experience for you just because you're older. But I
gotta stretch.
I do know there were definitely people that I remember there being older people in terms of like alumni still being around or like people that joined the military first and then came to college.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, back in the during the civil rights era, and I like to reference this a lot, but during the 50s and the 60s, there were a lot of older college students. Like when you talk about the civil rights movement, it's not just like there were young people who were doing it. No, you had grown ass adults that were in college, going for their bachelor's or whatever, because let's also think about this, 50s and the 60s, money is different for black folk, and they paying out of pocket for it in a lot of cases.
Right, some people
and you can pay for college and go buy, you can work a job and go to college back in the 50s and 60s. A lot of them were people who have families and were full-blown adults. So,
and a lot of these schools too have ROTC programs as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know Norfolk has. I know Virginia State had.
yeah. So, but yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there because my thing is, you know, I'm a big history buff. That's why I'm always throwing out
I could tell.
dates.
Hey, that's awesome.
But I say, man, like, there's a lot to learn about how we did things back in the day. Like, if you can look at shit from back in the day, a lot of shit today will make sense. Like I said, it's not a coincidence that black HBCUs have agriculture programs. Why? Because if you look at back in the day, we had an affinity for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not a coincidence that HBCUs are all in southern areas and barely in Oklahoma. Why? Because those are populations. You know, HBCU with no damn Washington State. Like,
And the thing is, I think we did this episode because we want to tell the young people it's cool to want to be a doctor, man. You don't have to be an NBA player. You don't have to be an NFL player. You don't have to be the next, you know, King Von, rest in peace, by the way. Like, you don't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? You could just be a doctor. You could be a lawyer, engineer, real estate person, like chemist, anything. I mean, we need more of that. So definitely, you know, take this knowledge and, you know, take heed on it.
Yeah.
That's the reason why we did this. And learn about your culture, too. Learn about that stuff.
Yeah,
Learn about who you are.
Definitely kill two birds with one stone going to HBCU. Learn about your history, learn about your culture,
Yeah.
and get that education.
and learn and get some good ass gas station fried chicken because when I was in North Carolina, dog, some of the best food I had, boy.
What was it? Do you remember the name of that gas station? Where's that?
No, I don't, bro. I was middle of nowhere. I didn't know where I was.
Yeah, I remember our spot. I don't think it's there anymore, but it was called VA's Best, and they had the fried chicken with the mumbo sauce.
Yeah.
Oh, the mumbo sauce?
Mumbo sauce? Hey, that's a different combo. That's a different combo. Mumbo sauce?
I gotta
Yeah,
get
you
that.
can't talk about that around these Chicago people out here.
No,
They
see,
got some type of way with their mouth sauce.
I'm building a sauce rack in my house right now. I already got some Chicago mild sauce on the way. Gotta get that mambo.
Oh, I gotta tell you about City Kitchen's mumbo sauce. City Kitchen, they're based out of DC. They make a mumbo sauce in a bottle, and they sell it online.
I think I've seen it. I think it's on Amazon.
Yeah, it's
There's
fire.
also called Go Chicken Go sauce. It's chicken sauce straight out of Kansas City. That shit.
See, this is why I love black folk. We got so much good shit.
Fire.
We got good sauce.
Oh, wait, hold up. Speaking of sauces, hold up. Hold on 1 second.
Oh, here we go.
Where is he?
This message is brought to you by.
Shameless plug, man. Trap sauce, dog. It came from right over here. You know what I'm saying? This is the best barbecue sauce ever. Known to
Is that from
mankind.
Trap House Barbecue?
Trap sauce.
Oh,
Trap sauce. Trap.
but where's it from? Oh,
From
Trap-
right here, in Arizona.
Okay. My bad. I thought it was.
You know what's funny? You put the word trap on anything black people go to it.
Hey, have y'all been to Trap House Barbecue? Though?
Yeah,
They
the
got
dude's from Long Island.
them wings.
The
Philly
guy,
crack
the
wings.
guy who owns it, he's from Wyandanch.
Philly crack wings.
And look at the thing. Don't bite your
I
fingertips
didn't know that.
off eating that trap
Yeah,
sauce.
the guy who owns it, he's from Wyandanch. I
You
haven't
will
been
bite
yet.
your fingers off. I'm telling you.
Legit spot.
Why you walk? I hope you just bought that and you just not walking around with that big ass bottle.
I just had to do a shameless plug.
Alright, well that's how we pay bills.
You already know.
Shameless.
Shout out to Support District Radio. You already know what it is. Culture Vibes. I'm Guns.
Cheeseburger.
Nails.
Get out of here.
Yerp.